Hey guys, today I wanted to give you guys an update video on the RSX as well as the JDM K24A. Last time that we have talked, this was pretty bare. There wasn't really anything that was on the K24, so we've definitely come a long way. I have a lot to cover, so I'll go over this and kind of talk about what's different with the RSX and the plans and the goals. So I'm gonna start off with the RSX. So the idea is to throw in that K24 in here, run a CRV all-wheel drive trans, keep it front wheel drive for a little while, and I'll get into the details of that, and then eventually go all-wheel drive. If we talk about kind of what's already done to the RSX, it's got stock K20Z1, which came in the 0506 RSX. When I first bought this car, motor mounts were shot. I've kind of done some wire tucking around certain areas. It does have a InGen intake on it. It does have a cheap eBay exhaust going all the way back. Battery relocation as well. That's what's missing right here. I use DC5 Creations kit. As you can see, it's kind of his wiring there. It is relocated to the trunk, so I'll show you that in a bit. Overall, super stock. Still have power steering, still have AC. Nothing has been torn into. But the idea is to get this into here. Talk about the K24. Last time that I've kind of shown videos or anything regarding this, it was basically stock. There was nothing going on. As you can tell, got a big gigantic turbo. This guy is a Pulsar 3584 Gen 2 dual ball bearing ceramic. So pretty good turbo. This turbo is rated for 550 horsepower all the way up to 950. Do I plan on running it at 950? Absolutely not. This motor is stock. What I mean by stock is stock block, rods, pistons, and the stock head as well. This is an RBB4 head. So this head is off of, well, it's a JDM K24A. So I believe this motor actually came out of a minivan. Not entirely sure, but it wasn't automatic. So it is kind of nice to know that it was not beaten on and abused. From last time, I've gotten a valve cover, I've gotten some hardware, I've gotten an oil cap, a lot of things here. We'll start, again, I kind of glossed over the turbo. Like I said, it's a GT 3584, rated for 550 all the way to 950. It is a T51R, which is pretty cool. So I'm excited to hear what this whole setup sounds like. As for the manifold, it's got a 1320 Sidewinder with a 60mm wastegate. Pretty typical. I went with the bigger size wastegate to try and mitigate boost creep. I know that these Sidewinders have a lot of boost creep issues, so hopefully that'll mitigate that. I don't have my wastegate yet, but I plan on getting the Pulsar wastegate. Valve cover is just a Jack Spania vented valve cover, so it has vents on the back as well as two up front here. So I plan on running these in the front to a catch can. Running the CRV post mount. It is a Rep RBC manifold with a 72mm throttle body. I still need to get sensors and stuff like that. I do have my map sensor coming in. I still have some stuff to button up on. If you don't know, with the K24, you do have to run the K20 knock sensor. So I have that. I am running an Accord exhaust cam sensor as well. And this basically is just 90 degrees up to get it out of the way of the turbo. So the wiring is out of the way too. Not that I'm too worried. I do plan on wrapping this manifold with some heat wrap. So hopefully that'll kind of keep heat down. I'm not using your typical fiberglass heat wrap that comes in a roll. I'm gonna be using kind of like this thick stuff that you kind of wrap around it, like kind of like a C shape, and it just goes over the top of it. And it's supposed to be more effective than that typical roll of heat wrap. So I think I want to try that and see how that works. I do have a different water neck, billet water neck. Basically, I just wanted it to look nice and I wanted it to be easier when I go and put in the coolant. As you can tell, the theme for the motor is a lot of silver and black. I want it to be just really clean. I'm obviously not going for like a show car by any means, because I do plan to run the power steering as well as the AC, and there's still quite a bit that I gotta pick up. I don't have injectors, I don't have a fuel rail picked out yet. I do think I am gonna go with the K-tuned fuel rail and just go with the silver finish on it to kind of tie that in together with everything else. And then I was thinking about using Hunter tuned 1500cc injectors. I've heard really good things about that, and they're cheap. Everything on this is kind of more budget in mind. Obviously, the stuff that needs to be, you know, a little bit more expensive and important, I kind of went with and spent a little bit more money, but outside of that, everything else is pretty cheap. I am running a swivel neck thermostat. This is being because I'm still using the JDM K24 thermostat housing, this piece back here. With this, it's actually flip-flopped upside down compared to the RSX. I had to use a swivel neck, so this will kind of just take care of that problem. Another little thing about these K24s a lot of people forget about is you have to use a K20 crank sensor. And most wiring harnesses and stuff like that will be set up for a K20 crank sensor. So just keep that in mind. That has been replaced as well. As for the stuff that I still need, I need my catch can set up. I need an alternator. I'm going to be getting a new AC system. And I am just going to be transferring over this power steering. It's in good condition. I haven't had any issues with it. I do plan on getting the tucked kit here to get this up out of the way to make room for the manifold. And then also there's this line here, which is for your brake booster. This has been replaced with an 8AN line. This is from K-tuned, and this will kind of wrap around the engine bay and go to the brake booster, which is, I don't know why I can't find the fitting. There, right up there. That'll kind of clean that up. I do plan on running an AC tuck kit as well, so that is something that I will pick up for this. The battery has already been relocated, so we're good there. The harness does need to be tucked. Now, I don't know what route I'm gonna go on that. I know that you can tuck the OEM wiring harness, and that's okay. I've seen people do it before, and that's fine. They've gotten away with it. However, I am looking at different options for a tucked wiring harness. Now, it's a little bit tricky with the 0506, and we'll get into this when I start talking about the transmission, but I have changed my mind on the ECU setup. I'll get into that in a second. Let's talk about the battery relocation. The kit that I bought was from DC5 Creations. It's a really nice kit. The battery is just tucked back here. I have a little piece of Velcro just holding it in, so it's not going nowhere. It does have a kill switch, which is super nice. So when you're working on your car or anything electrical, you can hit the kill switch and work on anything that you may need to just fine with no issues. Let's talk a little bit more about the motor. Stuff that I still need. I'm gonna be grabbing an ATI super damper. That will get switched out. I do have a timing kit, which is coming in. I'll replace the timing chain and everything like that, so I will have to take all this kind of back off, which sucks, but I wanna make sure that I'm doing things right with that. I'm not gonna be installing that for a while because I plan on getting a Type S oil pump as well. I wanna get a 4-piston Type S oil pump. That way I can kind of up the RPM and rev this thing out a little bit further. I also do have a baffled oil pan. So this is from Bull Boost Performance. It's not the best. Honestly, I kind of wish I just would have went with a Moroso. There's a little bit of pitting in the welds, which is not the end of the world. I don't think it'll leak. I haven't seen any leaks when I've tested it so far. It did come with a little bit of surface rust as well. So I did clean out this oil pan and make sure that there's no surface rust in there, make sure that there was no metal flakes, because there were when I kind of took it apart and cleaned it all out. So cleaned it really, really thoroughly, so it should be good. I don't really have any concerns, but it should work just fine. As you see, I have my return bung right there. I have not ordered the return line just yet, but that is something that I'll need to get as well. Type S oil pump, baffled oil pan, ATI damper, new timing kit, alternator. Let's get into the transmission setup. Clutch I plan on running for this will be a twin disc. I'm looking at a comp clutch. Reason being is for the horsepower goals, I want to sit around 500 horsepower. I don't want to go too crazy. I want it to be a fun, drivable car on the street. That's why I'm still retaining power steering. AC, I want it to drive normal. That's why I went with an oversized turbo as well. It is a T4, so it should spool up a little bit later in the RPMs, which most people probably wouldn't like, but for me, I have decent gas mileage still, as long as I'm not in boost. I'll still do what I need it to do. So I'm not entirely worried about the turbo. If it ends up being not what I want, I can always downsize. So not the end of the world, but I wanted to leave some room in this turbo to go up if I really wanted to. Hence why I'm immediately just going to the twin disc. For the transmission, 0506 RSXs, this is kind of what I was talking about, where it can get kind of hairy. This also has kind of changed my idea of what I want to do with the ECU, but let's just talk about the transmission for now. So the transmission that's in it is the stock 6-speed RSX manual transmission. I know that you can run an EP3 tranny. I know that you can run the base tranny as well. There is that sensor right there. That's your VSS. On the 0204, that VSS is on the back of the transmission. It makes it really difficult when finding an all-wheel drive transmission to run, because you need to find one with a VSS in the front to keep it standard with the 0506 RSX. I plan on running a JDM CRV transmission, which comes 6-speed. Funny enough, has the exact same final drive ratio as this transmission. Also has the VSS in the front, so it should bolt in just fine, and that'll kind of clear up any headache. And then I'll run the CRV subframe, and then I'll run a block-off plate for the transfer case. That way I can keep it front-wheel drive while I source the rest of the parts to eventually make it all-wheel drive. But for the time being, that's kind of what I plan on doing. Also, with the ECU and the VSS being in the front, if you don't know, with these 0506 RSXs, they're kind of a pain in the butt. You have to run the 02 to 04 ECU, and with the 02 to 04 ECU, you have to send it out to Honda, and it's pretty expensive. It's more expensive to run it on the 0506 RSX than it is the 0204. So that's kind of thinking of switching over to a different ECU platform. Honda is kind of expensive. At that rate, you know, if I'm going to be spending $1,800, what's $2,200 for a Haltech Nexus S2? So that's the route that I want to go. I want to go with a Haltech Nexus S2. The only downside is it is CAN-based, so I am going to lose AC, but that's only temporarily. There is a wiring harness that I can run to make the AC still work. So that is something to think about, but I am definitely leaning towards a Haltech. Still a lot to be done. There's still a lot of parts that I have to source. You know, I got to get all the charge piping, intercooler. I got to get the crash bar brace with tabs. I do plan on running a full exhaust, so I got to find someone to, you know, fabricate a full exhaust for this setup. You know that it can kind of be a little bit tricky with the K24 because it sits up taller in the engine bay, which is why I have the hood spacers preemptively. Not that I need it right now, but I'll eventually need it with the K24. Once the motor's all kind of done, finished, it's making the power goals that I like, I do plan on working the looks of the RSX. So if you don't know, still on a stock suspension, which at 20 years old, it's starting to have issues. It creaks a lot, and it's something that I need to replace anyways. So definitely overhaul all of the suspension. We'll be putting in bushings into my lower control arms, solid bushings, so that way there's no play there. C5 Creations does provide that, so I will be going that route as well. Body work, new paint. She's extremely dirty right now, so don't judge. I need to give her a wash. It's actually starting to get pretty cold here in Colorado. I'm expecting that I'll probably have to throw on my winter set of tires here soon. Yeah, that's pretty much all that I can think of for now. If you guys have any questions, definitely leave a comment. Let me know. If you guys have any concerns or any feedback, definitely let me know. I'm still learning. This is all brand new to me. I'm definitely taking my time. I'm picking a lot of brains on this setup and how this is all going to work. So I'm asking a lot of questions too. But yeah, I am definitely open to learning. So if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. Have a wonderful day, guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye.